Welcome back to Affirm America podcast. I'm the host, Marquis Van De Mark, and we're glad that you're here with us today on the Affirm America podcast. And we have our first guest on our premier podcast today. It's a good friend of mine. I've got to know him over the last 500 days on our nightly prayer call, and it's been really a wonderful experience. We didn't actually know each other very much before the prayer call, but we've got to know each other through our prayers, and it's been an incredible journey for us all that have joined over the last 500 days. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Kaufmann, a little bit about his bio, then we'll talk a little bit about his project, which I think you'll find to be very interesting. Dr. Frank Kaufmann presently works in areas related to academic life, religion and peace, and spiritual education and formation. As such, he runs New World Encyclopedia as its editor-in-chief, Professor's World Peace Academy, PWPA, 12 Gates Foundation, and teaches and consults with organizations on matters related to spiritual life and growth. A small sampling of Dr. Kaufmann's professional record includes negotiations with the United States White House, the Kremlin, the Grand Muftis, and Muslim representatives during the First Gulf War. Involvement with the Indian government during the 1993 mosque riots and violence, and work in refugee camps in Eritrea and Croatia at different times during regional wars in these respective areas. So he's very well informed, a world traveler, has been in multiple countries and worked on many fronts, and we're happy to have him here with us today to share a little bit about his settlement project. So let me introduce to you Dr. Frank Kaufmann. Hey Frank, how you doing?
Very good, Marcus. Happy to be with you. Thanks for inviting me on.
My pleasure. It's been good to get to know you, Frank, over the years that we've been praying every night, and to see the fruits of our prayer effort manifested now in our Affirm America podcast is the testament to prayer with action. And I hope that this will be something that the American people can be inspired about, and that hopefully we can offer some solutions to the confusion that the American people are seeing every day in our society, the erosion of our values, and just the outright lurch to the far left, socialism and communism. It's, who would have thought, right? Who would have thought this, we'd be in this situation today?
The speed is a shock. How fast we went from here to there. I think this is what has people alarmed. No chance to react. Suddenly, realities we never dreamt of are upon us, just in a blink.
Yeah, and it's amazing that it happened so quickly, but this has been a long march, right? We studied that through communism and Marxism, started back in the 20s and 30s, when the communists tried to come over and promote their communist ideology, and they couldn't do it. Couldn't do it, straight ahead, so they got in the universities, right? And they've been working there, indoctrinating and teaching and.
Yeah, there were elements of that philosophy that would never work in America. And they recognized that, and they modified both their teachings and their strategies and did it. And I think the fall of several communist empires, especially Soviet Union, put the moral conservatives and constitution to sleep while those modifications were taking place. It's kind of pulling up to a red light on a Friday night, and then you're looking at a car that's been changed in so many ways, and you think you've got this, and you've lost. You're walking home.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just astounding what's been going on, and like you said, I think with the COVID virus and the lockdowns and everything, I think the left just saw a good opportunity to really take advantage and accelerate. What's been going on, I think, also had a lot to do with it, don't you think?
Yeah, there's a limit to what you know and what you suspect. And what you suspect isn't always wrong, but you speak cautiously about things you don't know. Was COVID actually employed in the election scheme? Highly likely. Have I met the guy that did it? File card that says it?
Right.
I can't say that, but it looks
Suspicious.
very likely.
Yeah,
Yep.
suspicious.
Yeah.
A lot of red flags, right, going off in our heads.
A lot of red flags, a lot of evidences, and even as we all know, people were bragging about it. So we have that much evidence, at least.
That's right. That's right. So we see all these things, and we prayed about it over the last 500 days, and many things came out of it. We have our podcast, but we also have a project that you're working on called the Settlement Project. So tell us a little bit about what the Settlement Project's, how it started, what it's about. Let our audience know a little bit about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I think just knowing what it is, I think it's a good resource for people to go to find out information that maybe might be hard to find in some of the outlets that are available out there, in the mainstream media, or you have to dig for it. So tell us a little bit about the Settlement Project.
Sure. It's certainly not available in the mainstream media, but the settlement provides immediate point to get a lot of the information we need. There's also a lot of great outlets for information once conservatives realized we were getting locked down and censored. A lot of beautiful work is springing up. Greenwald with Substack and Rumble, and great work. People have found a way to speak, but still at a disadvantage because of the market dominance of anti-First Amendment censors like Twitter and Facebook and the like. So the Settlement Project, it arose out of an inspiration that befell me that I was actually hoping that would be taken up by others with greater expertise than mine. And the inspiration was essentially this. It's normal that world powers would want to attack America. It's kind of just like the world of power. You get on the football field, you do battle. America is very powerful. There's other countries that are very powerful. And it's natural to want to take them on. This is normal. So countries like Russia, China, that are big, want to challenge American supremacy. It's normal human behavior. The problem is the Soviet Union in the early part of the 19th century adopted an ideology which produced totalitarianism and means of acquiring power that are not just simple head-to-head like on a football field. And so they believed in every kind of use of destroying America, but it didn't work here. The interest to continue to destroy America never went away, even though the Soviet Union abandoned that under Marxist ideology. But the ideology never went away. The tactics never went away. And so America remains under threat. We can expect that. That's okay to be expected. But when you're under threat, it's important to know who your enemy is.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Who's your enemy?
Who's your enemy? How are they thinking? What are their strategies? What are they drawing upon? What do they believe about the nature of the world? If you walk into a boxing ring and your enemy lives in a worldview where it's fine to put brass knuckles inside the boxing gloves, you should know that about the person you're boxing. You're a fool not to know how they view the world. And so what I came to be inspired or discover is that what was once Soviet-era Marxism is no longer the same enemy that still seeks the destruction of a free America. And the inspiration that came to me is that that's split into two separate, both geographical and tactical agents. On the ideological front, Europeans and later Americans altered Marxist ideology into a number of new philosophical forces that drive hatred of America and that drive the willingness to destabilize America. Like, for example, the riots of 2020 summer. They're informed by a philosophical mentality. People call it Marxism, But if they're inaccurate, if they're wrong about exactly what it is, it'll be harder to stop. What they retain is Marxist techniques, but they don't retain Marxist worldview. So these two things split since the fall of the Soviet Union. The worldview is one thing, the techniques remain. And so people on the conservative right are trying to attack what they think is Marxism, but really it's splintered out into even more difficult to combat ideologies, postmodern critical theory, which now we're starting to get language. You hear a lot of people talk about CRT. It has come into the language.
Yes.
But postmodernism is not just CRT. What is the worldview and philosophy that's informing gender therapy for little kids? That's not CRT.
Right.
Basically, it's kind of like whack-a-mole or like hitting a ball of mercury with a hammer. It splinters, it changes. And so that's what I call the Atlantic pincer side, the Atlantic flank of the attack on America. The whole philosophical reformation and modification and alteration of Marxist ideology, which was developed in Europe and then infiltrated all the US institutions, which you described in your intro as you were introducing Affirm America.
Yes.
And then on the Pacific side, China became the primary state actor that is determined to destroy America, both militarily and from within, through spying, through cyber theft, and so forth. So when the enemy was communism and Soviet Union, you had a single thing, and that was met and defeated. Not easily. It took great leaders to wake up America. America was hard to wake up. But now the state actor is different. The state actor comes from a different culture. Russia was primarily a Christian culture. China is a culture that, even if it weren't communist, Americans don't get. What do they know about the relationship between Confucius and Lao Tzu? What do they know about how a son thinks about a father? Russia was more recognizable. So the determination to destroy free America now split in many ways. On the Atlantic left, tactics of Marxism split from the philosophical foundation. Critical theory and postmodernism is not a Marxist theory of economy. It's not. It's just
makes sense.
So the China mentality and the reasons for its Marxist appeal are not Russia's. Russia's was the excesses of the monarchy that had an uprising against
the bourgeoisie.
The bourgeoisie, correct. And whereas China, its impetus or drive is that they were humiliated by the West, particularly from the Opium Wars and by Great Britain, the loss of Hong Kong and so forth. They're driven by an entirely different matter. So I wake up with this inspiration that the enemy of America, it has taken on many new angles, shapes, and if we're going to just come out with a blunderbuss, we're dead in the war. And so what I did was, because political activism is not my history and not my life. As you read, I've been involved in peace negotiations in war areas. But I'm a patriot. I've always been a patriot. I love my country. I'm grateful that God has protected and blessed America. But I wanted to awaken or reactivate new attention to new types of communism, new centers of communism, modification of the philosophy. And with that inspiration, I have many good connections and many high relationships. I went to all the places I could find to try to activate in the philosophical and academic community. I went to Asia. I went to friends and colleagues and institutions in Korea, Japan, China, Australia, New Zealand, the South Pacific. I tried to find activists, tried to link them, and just found a kind of a sleeping. I couldn't find anyone that they said, oh, that's a nice idea. Everyone I knew was asleep. They had abandoned their passion.
That's scary.
It was scary. And I went through a dark night of the soul. I became scared by that. And I said, if no one will do it, I have to do it. I don't know if I'll be any good at it. settlement project. And now it's a strong operation. That's how it came to be. It's the old reluctant Messiah story. It's like, I didn't want to do this, but I had to. But it's kind of my experience. If it gets taken up, I'm happy to close it down. That's how it came to pass. It's producing very good work. It's attracting a lot of support. And it's just a niche. It's just a niche.
Yes.
I don't have anybody volunteering in Arizona on the audit, but thank God, those brothers and sisters are.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not Steve Gorka, the genius is out there. I just want to help, and it's on this small insight of identifying what shape the enemy is and precisely what drives the people who are determined to destroy the freedoms in this country.
That's great. And I've taken a look at your website, and it's actually very detailed, and I can see that there's been a lot of energy and inspiration put into the content. What's the website address that people can look up the settlement project, Dr. Kaufmann, where they can find it? And
it's very simple. Yeah, it's S like Shirley, S or settlement, P project, SP12.org. SP12.org.
Okay, that's very simple, very easy to remember, SP12.org. I like very simple URLs. It's easy for people to find. So
you'll have it in the notes below also, I'm sure.
Yes, we'll link to it in our on the website with the content transcripts. You can find it there. And so tell us a little bit about what your goals are ultimately with the settlement project. What do you hope to see in the future? Tell us a little bit about where you feel that's headed.
Well, let me tell you about a couple of contemporary projects of the settlement project, and then it'll point a little bit to the future. A lot of our work is producing content which makes it clear for all patriots to get what is the nature of critical theory, of postmodernism, etc. Nobody needs to spend a lot of time learning that stuff. It's vile, it's destructive, it's disrespectful.
It's confusing too.
It's confusing, and that's part of the advantage they have.
You bet.
And so one of the major things we do, both in smaller pieces, in e-booklets, in content on our site, is for a good, honest, hardworking patriot to know exactly what they're looking at. When they're looking at some Harvard guy looking down their nose at them and throwing up squid ink and smoke, and you're punching here, punching there. It's like one of those superhero movies with this fast guy who's behind you and in front of you. We're trying to stop the camera and say, this is you, we got you. We got you on film, we got you on tape. Enlarge that picture. We're doing a lot of constant work to make it perfectly clear what has been done to the philosophy that makes the smug, depraved soul say, Marxism, ha ha ha. What are you going to do? Attack me with an Edsel or a Model T? Ha ha ha. We don't even believe in that. Baloney. I'll tell you exactly what you are and exactly what's wrong with the way you think and why the way you think produces tyranny and ultimately produces death every time.
Excellent.
You can laugh all you like on socialism or Marxism. Laugh all you like. I can show anybody clearly that what you believe is the case about reality will produce gulags, will produce Hitler's gas chambers. It always does. It always has. And so our work is to make it clear so that somebody doesn't have to waste their time with these smug, elusive, rarefied academic trickery. And so we're producing a lot of booklets, a lot of essays, and we're writing a brief, solid, readable book, which does a handful of things. It explains Marxism briefly, we already know what that is, and it traces the thread, the rope bridge between Marxism and what is the philosophical nature of the enemy today.
Excellent.
And finally produces a clear counter proposal. And proposals are proposals. Read
Yeah.
it, like it. If you like it, join it. Here's a proposal. A loving father and daughter, that's not a relationship of oppression. It's not oppression. How's that? There's a counter proposal in the definition of a hierarchical relationship. Buy it or don't buy it. After we make clear what is the proposal of those who are working to destroy America and shining blinding cops with laser pens.
Yeah.
What is their world? Do they believe about the world? And our writing is, how about this as an option for reading the exact same data? So that book it'll be short, it'll be readable, and it's kind of a step down transform. You don't have to struggle through this smug, elusive manipulation. Yes. By the left.
Absolutely, and it's needed too, because most people out here, the moms and the middle class, they don't know what Marxism
is. Nor should they
ever
have to.
Yeah,
right.
They don't know what postmodern critical theories about. They don't, they don't even know what CRT means. It could mean cart in Amazon or something. They don't know what it means.
Right. And it's not that these people are not geniuses and not brilliant. No. And, it's not that they're doing 20 things that I could never do.
Exactly.
The mom that's running a house and 3 kids and soccer practices. To me, that's a genius that I bowed down before.
Absolutely.
I don't know who's smarter or not smarter. It's not the point. People, they don't have to bother with this stuff. It's not good stuff anyway, and that's part of what we're putting out there.
Make it simple for the common person to understand. That hopefully that's what our podcast is about, is to take a complicated issue and bring it down to common sense understanding that we can all relate to, and what we can do about it, right?
Exactly right. What we can do
about it as Americans. We can't just sit around on the sideline now and be fat and happy and just think that our freedoms we take for granted. We can see how quickly things have changed just in the last year or two, and we need to be out front and really in the fight. Some of us a little bit more activist types, but even the soccer moms and dads that are working, they need to be aware of what's going on as well.
Yeah, we're in this together, and everybody's doing their part. Everybody has.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So very good. Well, sp12.org. Go check it out, and you can donate too. I'm sure Dr. Kaufmann can always use additional funding, so please feel free to make a contribution. You can also go to affirmamerica.com and sign up for our newsletter. And also you can make contributions there to help us get the message out and the content that we're presenting today. So I want to thank Dr. Kaufmann for joining us today. Hopefully we can maybe meet on a weekly or monthly basis, Dr. Kaufmann.
Oh, that would be good. Even particular issues, we can try to shed a little light together. That would be great.
That'd be great. Let's talk about that, and let's add that into our episodes. And some people might like to read, but I know when they're driving around, they can listen to our podcast or watch us on YouTube or video. And our desire is to get the message out.